As you guys know, Arcabios is my favorite plane, and the original Strixhaven set is the one that means the most to me. I started playing at that time, and it was arguably the thing that got me into Magic in the first place, or at least the thing that made me stay a fan. So now that we're back there, I'd figured it'd be fitting to do a commander from the new set, and since I like doing precon commanders, let's do one of those. As for which one, Witherbloom's my favorite college, so let's cover the new Dina. Part of me worried this would be too similar to Baitor's guide, but I think it has enough differences for the most part to stand out. At least I hope. Also, I'll try to make sure the next one isn't a black commander, I promise. It just happens that the last like 3 or 4 have been. As for Witherbloom, I love the mix of dark and colorful, and like how it handles life gain in an interesting way, mixing it with aristocrat stuff, and not focusing on gaining a ton of life, rather life in small increments. It's a great aesthetic with graveyard stuff and life gain, of course I'm going to enjoy it. We'll go over the commander, talk about the deck's goals and playstyles, then do sort of a card by card in the different categories. Note that, as usual, I'm not an expert, this is just my opinion on these cards, and if I personally run them or not. Cards I love you can hate, cards I dislike you can find fun or amazing. Also, this is not meant to be a be-all end-all list, just recommendations and discussion to give you a starting point to build off of. Also, I say this a lot, but I'm pretty sure this is going to be a shorter episode. I've said that for the last 2 or 3, and they've all been longer, but we'll see if this is aged poorly, I guess. With all that being said, let's get into the commander. Dina Essence Brewer is a 2/3 legendary Dryad Druid that costs 1 in Golgari and reads, whenever you sacrifice a creature or draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. You can also pay 2 mana and tap her to sacrifice another creature and gain X life and put X +1/+1 counters on target creature you control, where X is the sacrificed creature's power. The first ability is pretty nice card advantage, giving you more payoff when one of your pest tokens die other than just getting some life, and gives you more reason to lean into a more aristocrat direction, as opposed to filling your board with pest tokens to chump block, which does encourage you to be more active rather than passive. Its second effect is also both a nice way to sacrifice those tokens, while also giving you a bit of a payoff, making your guys bigger. Pests are usually only 1/1, so it's not the greatest thing to sacrifice for it, but it's still something, and draw 1, gain 1 life, put a +1/+1 counter on something, then gain 1 life is still pretty good for 2 mana in my opinion. I do wish its first effect triggered on tokens in general, so you can mix bargain and food token stuff better from previous Golgari themes, but as is, it's still pretty good, if not a bit basic. It's a commander that encourages a faster playstyle rather than sitting on 1,000 pests, which I enjoy. Our core theme is going to be pest tokens with some life gain payoffs here and there, as well as an aristocrat theme, some support for +1/+1 counters, and big creatures to sack off with Dina to gain a bunch of life and get a bunch of counters. As usual, we can't cover every card that's good in this deck, or we'll be here all day, so we're mostly going to cover what I'm running and what I prefer, with some highlights for others that you could run if you choose to. Okay, so there are 2 different kinds of pest tokens. Technically 3, but we don't talk about this one. Both are black and green 1/1 creature tokens, with one variant reading, when this creature dies, gain 1 life, while the other reads, when this creature attacks, you gain 1 life. I really don't like that they changed the effect on the token in between Strixhaven sets. It makes it annoying to keep track of which is which and what makes what, but I guess it's not the end of the world, and it's just a slightly annoying thing to keep track of at the end of the day. Originally, Pest Tokens Matters was not really a theme you could get away with doing in a commander deck, since there were like 12 cards total that had anything to do with pest tokens, and some of them weren't even that worth running to begin with. But with Secrets of Strixhaven, we should have more than enough and not have to rely on pests either being such a tiny aspect of the deck or relying on generic token doublers to make an alright amount of pets. Bellageous Witherbloom costs a lot of mana and is one of your best ways to make pests consistently, which is a nice payoff if you gain enough life for it not to hurt so much. But the issue is that it's prime removal bait. The second you play this, it's going to get removed, since your opponents are not going to want to let you get 4 pests every turn cycle. I wouldn't recommend it as a commander since it costs so much and is so easy to remove, but it's still a good card in the 99 because you can revive it easily and mill it easily and so on. Blex Vexing Pest is a big old friend. The first effect won't come up too much since you're not exactly running a lot of these types, but we do run some. There's some snake tokens in here. It's going to mostly affect pests 99% of the time. Its second effect is fine and makes it a pretty decent sack fodder for your commander. Its other side, Search for Blex, is a pretty alright draw spell, though paying 15 life to draw 5 cards for 4 mana isn't the greatest. It filling your graveyard at the same time with what you don't draw can help with graveyard stuff we don't have access to at least. I feel we're more likely to play the Blex half though. Black Loafing Pest can get you a big board, turning your 1/1 pests into some pretty dang good attackers, which helps with pests that gain on attack, and we do also run a small number of snakes by chance, so that's an added bonus too. Wait, Blex is dead! Eccentric Pest Finder is another way to consistently make pests repeatedly, which is a sentence I have a hard time saying. Though, the issue is, its spell is a sorcery, you'll have to wait till your next turn to cast the prepared spell, so it's a bit slow, but even if you just pull it off once, 3 pest tokens is still pretty decent since you also get a 5/5 trampler along with it. Essence Knit Scholar gets you a pest as an ETB, which is fine, but it also gets you a draw during each of your end steps, which is basic but good advantage. Not much to say, it's a basic card, but it's a pretty good one. Gorma the Gullet is a pretty good lifelinker, getting bigger and bigger each time something dies, not only getting you a pretty big lifelinker, but also pretty dang good fodder for your commander, and its second effect can help too. Again, I feel like it's a bit of a non-bow with pests since it doesn't affect them, and it would be nice to make your pests a little bit of a bigger threat, but it's still a good card that I 100% think you should run. Moeso is more than so-so. I tried there, okay? They're a cool-ass bird that makes a pest and is consistent revival, which is nice, while also being niche enough to not be a staple in every deck or anything. We don't gain as much life in huge numbers like with Baitor, but even gaining 1 or 2 life total can bring back a lot of our creatures, so it's worth running 100%. Pest Rescuer gets you a little bit of bonus life, which is an alright bonus, but its first effect making it so you always have access to at least 1 pest token each turn helps a lot. Especially if you lean into more tokens matter specific stuff. It's a basic card, but still a pretty good one. Rib Truss Roaster is a great way to make pests on each of your turns, and it combos with your commander well, sacrificing a huge creature with her and putting counters on it, thus making you more and more pests. I can see this being just removal bait, and 5 mana is a bit of a high cost, but I still think it's one of the better cards in the deck. Sedgemoor Witch was your original consistent way to get pests without paying a million mana for Beledros, and while we're not a Spellslinger deck, we do have an okay amount of instants and sorceries, plus some prepared stuff to trigger the effect, with enough recursion to use more than once, so I feel like we can get a decent number of pests from it. Teacher's Pest is a silly little guy that gains you life when it attacks, with Menace as a decent evasive keyword, which would normally just be fine, but it having the ability to basically infinitely recur itself, albeit tapped, makes it a great card to sacrifice each turn if you need it. Valentin, Dean of the Vein is a pretty good lifelinker that gets you some decent token creation, that also stops other Aristocrat decks and makes removal and board wipes you have turn into exile removal. Its other side, Listet? I'm bad at pronouncing things, you guys should know this by now, is a side I use less often, but it's still pretty good. Making your board bigger and giving your guys trample is a nice finisher, especially with some of your bigger creatures in here. Blightmound gives your pests a good keyword and a fine boost, which helps with the pests that want to attack, while also giving you a pretty good way of filling your board with pests. Sacrificing a Teacher's Pest or a Persistent Specimen or something like that can lead to you making a bunch of pests with something like Viserys here, basically turning it into green and black, surveil one and make a pest, so I 100% recommend running it. Containment Breach is a little more expensive than something like Naturalize, but the addition of making a pest if you destroy something small enough is a nice bonus that makes it worth the 1 extra mana to me. Feral Appetite gives your pest the same boost as Blightmound, but gives them Death Touch instead of Menace. Its second ability to make pests is pretty good, especially if you don't mind exiling your own stuff, but even if you only want to exile your opponent's grave, it can make them at a fine rate if they play enough creatures. For the Common Good is the cheapest way of turning a lot of mana you have into filling your board with pests, while also protecting them and getting you some life gain at the same time. I wish it was an instant so the protection can matter more often, but it's still great protection. Pestilent Cauldron's front half is a pretty good artifact, setting up your graveyard while also making you a pest every turn. It has 2 other effects, but I'm going to be honest and say I had this in Willow Dusk when this deck was a Willow Dusk one. I put this in Baitor in testing, and it's in here. And anytime I've played this card, I have not used the other effects a single time. I guess they could come up, but milling your opponent isn't really a thing you want to do in here. And the last effect is fine graveyard hate. I just never felt inclined to do it. Its other half, Restorative Burst, is a perfectly fine recurring spell, though the issue is our lands don't really hit the grave, and we don't run Planeswalkers, so most of the time you're paying 5 mana for 2 creatures, which isn't that great. Pest Infestation is fine. 4 generic and green for removing 2 artifacts and enchantments is a bit much in a lot of cases, but also getting you 4 pests in the process makes up for it, and we're in green, so we have enough ramp to make it not hurt so bad. Tend the Pest combos really well with your commander, sacrificing a huge 7/7 with Dina to gain a bunch of life and put the counters on something like a Teacher's Pest, and then activating Tend the Pest to make 8+ Pest, gain 7 life, and draw a card from Dina is pretty good. I like it. I don't really know where to put these, so Creekwood Leaves gives your pests a +2/+2 boost since they're black and green, and also makes worm tokens that can help with any Token Matters cards you might run. Ophiomancer gives you a little snake each turn, which makes for decent death touchers and gives you a token each upkeep to sack off for different things if you need it. As for ones you don't run but could, there's not a lot of these because there's not a lot of pest stuff, but Callous Blood Mage is fine, and Mix a Pest has a basic draw effect, or it can Bajuka Bug someone as an ETB, which is, yeah, like I said, I guess it's fine, I just don't really think it's interesting or that helpful to me. Hunt for Specimens is also fine. Learning Commander is just a rummage, and I guess a rummage and a pest for 2 men is fine, but we have enough card draw and enough pest making without it. Lewin Exchange Student is a fine card, but I don't like exiling creatures from my own graveyard, so this 100% is just a case of me not liking this card and it not being my cup of tea. Pest Brood Sloth is, guess what, it's fine. A 4-mana 4/4 Reacher that gets you a pest when it dies is okay, it's just not worth running for me. Pest Summoning is, look, there's nothing I can say here, it's fine. Same with Professor of Zoomancy, and same with Send in the Pest, and I think that's every single card that makes pests in the entire game. So with Dina's effect and a lot of our tokens caring about dying, we're going to need some Aristocrat stuff. I can't cover everything, of course, but I'll try to cover the highlights. We'll cover stuff that sacrifices creatures and stuff that gets better when you sacrifice creatures. Daemogoth Titan is a huge 11/10 that gives you both a sack outlet, great defender, and a lot of power to gain 11 life and put 11 counters on something with Dina. It's great. Daemogoth Woe Eater is a similar deal, a big creature that makes you sack a guy every turn, but also gets you a nice bonus when it dies, which is an added bonus. Most things I said about Titan apply here too. Dina Soul Steeper is kinda just a worse version of our commander in terms of its second ability, but its first ability can help whittle down your opponents, and it's a 3 toughness for 2 mana, so it makes a pretty good defender early on too. Merchant of has a fleshbag style effect that has a bonus of getting bigger each time anyone sacrifices a permanent, including treasures, clues, food, fetch lands, and so on. It is just a creature that keeps getting bigger, but with our commander, that can be enough. Marin of Clan Nel Toth, I guess, can get you a lot of experience counters, and since you get the counters instead of it, it still counts them even if it gets killed and you revive it or whatever. And since a decent bit of the stuff you want to revive are cheap mana-wise, you don't need that many to make it work. As an added bonus, if you want to lean more into +1/+1 counters with Proliferate, it works with those too. Morbid Opportunist is a decent little defender that gets you an extra draw from your death triggers. There's honestly nothing to say. It's a staple in decks like this for a reason, so yeah. Savra, Queen of the Golgari, gets you some good life gain and removal, albeit of their choice. It especially synergizes here since pests are black and green, so they trigger both of them. Its stats aren't the best, but you more so use it for its abilities, not its stats, so it's fun. Umbral Caller Zealot and Viserys here are basically the same card, except one scries and one surveils. They're both pretty good infinite sack outlets, and the scry and surveil are more so an added bonus. I recommend running both, but if you find running both redundant, you can cut one. White of the Reliquary can get massive very easily, and also get you some pretty dang good ramp. Sacrificing a pest, gaining 1 life, getting a land, and then drawing a card with Dina out is a pretty dang good advantage. Zulaport Cutthroat is a card you all know by now. It's good. Deadly Brew has Dina on the art, so it's flavorful. That's why we're running it. Okay, fine. It gets you a sack trigger that is also pretty decent recovery. It sucks a bit that your opponents choose what to sacrifice, meaning if they have a worthless token out, this kind of does nothing in that regard. But I find the effect more so an added bonus rather than the main reason to run it. It's more so for the recovery. Immoral Bargain can turn any excess snakes or pests or whatever you have into some pretty dang good removal. 3 mana and sacrificing 3 tokens to destroy 3 permanents is really good. I could see this becoming a staple in Golgari stuff that cares about death triggers 100%. Moldavine Reclamation probably isn't as good as it used to be for 5 mana, and it does suck that it's forced, so you could theoretically deck yourself out with it if your opponent does a board wipe it while you have like 20 pests out, but I think it's still a good way to get more draw power. Ominous Harvest is a basic draw spell at base value. Maybe it's even overcosted, but the added Gravestorm copying can make it get out of hand. I don't think you're going to be using it on someone else to take them out often enough for that to be a factor, but I suppose that could come up. Plumb the Forbidden is so similar to Ominous Harvest in a way. It instead sacrifices the creature to copy itself, but they serve a similar function overall, so most things I can say about Harvest apply here. Witherbloom Charm is a basic sacrifice outlet for some draws, but can also get you some pretty good life gain and removal. Its multi-purpose nature makes me run it over something like Village Rites, personally. As for some you could run but I don't, this is too vague of a category for that. Like, there's so many sack outlets. I guess I'll try to cover what I can. Arcade Cabinet combos well with Dina, letting you sack a token to draw off the first effect, while doubling the counters on something you made big with Dina last turn. It's a great card in here. Carrion Feeder is great, but I mean, that goes without saying. I just don't want to pay $3 for one, especially since it's in so many of my other decks. I just don't like the redundancy between decks, personally. Chitter Spitter is a great name and an alright card. It has to sack a token, and it making a normal squirrel that gets bigger each turn is fine. The synergy is there a bit, with the huge squirrels being nice fodder for Dina. I just think it's a bit slow and not good enough for me to force room for it. Emeritus of Woe is a good card. How can a repeatable tutor not be great? I just personally don't like tutors since they make games feel very samey, and that takes away one of the appeals of Commander to me. Mirkwood Bats is Mirkwood Bats. It turns a board of tokens and a sack outlet into a finisher, not much to say. Priest of Forgotten Gods is a great sack outlet that gets you some removal, but also a bit of life loss, card draw, and small ramp. It's just $3, so I'm not running it for budget reasons. If you don't mind that, it's 100% worth running in my opinion. Pitiless Plunderer is a way to ramp very fast since it works with tokens and non-token creatures dying. Though, just like Forgotten Gods, it's out of my budget for the deck. The Gitrog Ravenous Ride is a huge trampler that a pest or snake can saddle easily, that also gets you a sack outlet, great draws, and some ramp in a sense if you sacrifice something big enough. It's a great card, I just can't find room for it personally. Warren's Soul Trader is an infinite sack outlet, since you'll probably gain a life from the pests, or have so much life it doesn't matter, and it also ramps you by making treasure, which don't even enter tapped or anything. I wouldn't call ourselves a life gain deck, more so a deck that gains life by happenstance, but we do have some cards that synergize with it, since Dina and Pests do gain us some decent life, and we have some life linkers. Probably going to be a decently short section, but it still is a part of the deck, so let's go over them really quick. We already talked about Pest Mascot, but Blood Researcher is pretty much the same card. They're 3-mana creatures with a keyword that get bigger when you gain life. Since our life gain is more so a little bit multiple times rather than a lot at once, they both work here and can get pretty big pretty fast, giving you alright finishers for only 3 mana. If I had to pick one, I personally prefer Pest Mascot, since I think I like Trample more, and there's more Pest synergy, but Blood Researcher is hot, so that gives her bonus points. We run both anyways, though, so I guess that's a moot point. Bogwater Lumaret is just a little guy. He's a little... Okay, I gotta stop calling cards that in every guide I do. It's a very basic life gain effect, which is good here, though. Unlike the Soul Sisters, this is a little Froggo, so it gets bonus points. Defiling Demagoth is a big menacer that gets you small life gain when your creatures connect, but its last effect can just end games. I could totally see people finding it unfun since you can just gain 20 or more life and instantly take out multiple players, but I feel like we don't go that far with life gain, so I don't think it's going to feel gross for us specifically. Southwind Avatar is a great source of life gain that can also deal small life loss over the course of the game. It also gets a boost off of Blex and Black if that matters to you. Sproutback Trudge is a huge 9/7 that can constantly recur itself, and it's one of the best things you can sacrifice with Dina. Gaining 9 life and putting 9 counters on something is great, especially since that alone lets you recast it from your graveyard during the same turn for 2 mana. Mortality Spear is a meh removal spell that becomes a pretty good one if you gain life that turn, not much to add. As for the ones you can run but we don't, Ageless Entity can become massive. If you sack off a 5/5 for Dina, you can gain 5 life, put the 5 counters on Ageless, then it triggers and you put another 5 counters on it. It can easily become a 14/14 from one sacrifice of a 5/5, if not more. Even if you sack off a Pest, this becomes a 6/6, which is not that bad. Blossoming Bog Beast is a great card, making your pests pretty dang big, but I already run one in Baitor, and it's like a $4 card at the time of writing this, so yeah. Comforting Counsel gives a good boost if you gain enough life. I just couldn't find room for it. It turns your pests into 4/4s by itself, which turns them into some scary threats if you have a board full of them. Nazar the Velvet Fang is a decent draw outlet, but we have so much draw power in here already that I feel like it's not necessary, but I can see others liking it more and wanting to put it in. Scheming Silver Tongue is a nice life linker that gets you a draw spell each turn if you gained enough life. I just couldn't find room for it and feel like we have enough draw power without it, but it's a good card I would recommend. Tragedy Feaster is a massive guy. It's just a massive guy. It also gets you a sack outlet. There's not much else to add. I just couldn't find room for it, just like Scheming Silvertongue. Restless Bloodseeker can make blood tokens for you. If you have more of a graveyard synergy or need some draw outlets, it's fine, but I'm just not really into it. Same with the other side. Trudge Garden can make some pretty big beasts for you if you have excess mana. I just don't think it's worth it personally. Witch of the Moors costs a decent bit of mana, but it has a pretty good removal and recur effect. I just don't have room for it and think 5 mana is a bit much for it. Aristocrats need Recursion usually, especially since we're playing big creatures as fodder for Dina's abilities, so here's some ones that we run. Cult Conscript is a recurring skeleton that enters tapped, but it's perfectly fine fodder for Dina and makes a fine chump blocker if it untaps. I don't know, man. It's probably the most annoying card name I've ever covered on this damn channel. Holy hell, whatever, you can see it. It's a decent defender that is also a revival each turn, and since some of our cards either don't have on-field effects like Sproutback Trudge, or have negative abilities like Daemogoth Titan, or they only have death triggers, that doesn't really matter here. Cauldron of Essence is very good. Not only does it have the life drain that affects all opponents and isn't even once per turn, making it get out of hand pretty dang fast, but its second effect is also kinda crazy. 3 mana and a sack outlet to revive something repeatedly every turn is really great, especially in here. If this card isn't a bazillion dollars, I'd put it in here 100%. Dread Return is not the best rate for a recursion spell, but it having flashback by sacrificing 3 of your pest tokens or whatever makes it fully worth it. Persistent Victimized are both basic recursion I run in most black decks nowadays, so there's nothing I can really add here. As for ones we don't run, but you can, same as the Aristocrat section. There's like so many of these. I'll try, I guess. Archpriest of Shadows can put its ability on evasive creatures you have, which can get you some revival, which is fine. Just costs a bit too much mana for me to love it, I suppose. Bloodghast is great, but I feel like we don't need it with Cold Conscript and Teacher's Pest in here. Eternal Witness can recur to your instants and sorceries if you're more so on Magecraft stuff than I am. Lich Knight's Conquest is good if you make enough tokens, but I feel we sacrifice them a lot. We usually don't control that many at once, and if you only revive 2, it's kind of a worse victimize. Vainwitch Covenant's pretty damn good. Getting back creatures as you gain life, meaning as past tokens die, and it being a 3/3 Minotaur makes it a decent attacker as well. I just keep my copy in another deck and felt like the deck was very samey with it in both Baitor and this. So, you can run it if you like. We run the normal rocks, Cell Ring, Arcane Signet, and Felwar Stone, as well as Cultivate and Rampant Growth, and Sakura Tribe Elder since it gets you ramp plus a draw from Dina if she's out. Wide of the Reliquary, which we talked about earlier, is another ramp outlet that we already covered, and finally we run a Noxus Newt because It's cute and for flavor reasons. Don't fucking judge me. It's a 2-color deck, so we run 10 of each basic land for a total of 20. We run the obvious Bojuka Bog, Exotic Orchard, and Command Tower. As for ones that aren't the usuals, High Market is a sack outlet that gets you some life, a way to sacrifice pests, and it probably won't get removed as easily since land removal is not as common. Grim Backwoods is a lot for a draw, but it is repeatable draw as you've ramped enough. Everything else is your basic stuff, as you can see on screen right now. Our card draw comes from Deadly Dispute, Moldavine Reclamation, Ominous Harvest, Plum the Forbidden, Witherbloom Charm, and Dina, along with more cards that we talked about earlier I'm probably not thinking of. Our removal is Assassin's Trophy, Culling Ritual, Immoral Bargain, Mortality Spear, and Withering Curse. Hello, time for the deck profile part of this, which is probably going to be shorter this time because there's not a ton of things to say. There might have been some changes since I wrote the script and I got to this point of recording this or whatever, but I think this is pretty much the exact same. In testing, I haven't seen anything that jumps out to me as like an instant replace, but there's probably some things that are a bit of a wonky choice, but I think it's good for the most part. Obviously, for decks that are brand new, like Dina, who isn't even out fully by the time I'm recording this, it's harder to make a deck for because you have less time playtesting it and less time figuring out what works and what doesn't. We're running 36 lands. I normally go 37 or 38, but we have enough ramp between like Mana Dorks plus like the Rampant Growth, the Yavimaya Elder, or whatever, or Sakura Tribe Elder, is that it or whatever? So it's fine. I don't think I want to do it by types. I think I want to do it by not subtypes, types and tags probably. And then yeah, we have 8 pieces of ramp, which I think is fine enough for 36 lands, plus a bunch of mana reducers, and I think it's fine. Our mana curve is pretty normal for decks. 3 is the thing we have most of, which I think is a fine number to have. We have a 9, but that 9 is, what is our 9? It doesn't even say. I think it's brought back Dredge, right? Because I think it's 7 green. I keep thinking it's 9 green, but it has 9 power. That's what I'm thinking of. Our colors are pretty even in terms of distribution and stuff, so that's nice. And now let's do some hand testing, I guess. Let's play test. Let's discard the test I did before I recorded all this. And let's see what we can do in 10 turns. This hand is not that great. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We already started with 8. High Market's not going to do anything for us right now, so I think I'll just have to play a... What is this one? I never remember these lands unless we control a Swamp before. So our best bet is to play this and pass. Our best bet is to play this, and I don't think there's anything we could do with 2 mana right now, so I guess we'll have to pass there for now. We'll play another Forest. We have 3 mana now, so I think we want to play these and do a Pestilent Cauldron, and then that way we can discard a card. We can discard this creature in order to draw a card with in order to make a pest, and then we can sacrifice the pest with Cauldron of Essence in order to bring the discarded guy back. We'll gain a life. It'll be nice. Yes, we'll pass. Let's do a Swamp, and then I'm trying to remember the order I want to do this. This is just tap, discard a card. So I think I'm gonna tap. I'll discard this because it costs more mana, and then I'll make a pest token, right? And it's the dies one because there's 2 pests and there's no way to differentiate them, which is kind of annoying, but eh. And then I still have 4 mana. I don't know why I was about to end the turn. I think I'll go 1 green black, 1 green black in order to play a Cauldron of Essence. And then, yeah, that's all I can do this turn. We do have 1 mana, but that's not really going to do much with just a pest. So we'll draw. That's actually a really good draw. We'll put out a High Market. Why not? Let me think about how I want to do this. Because I can play a Moldavine Reclamation, but that won't be helpful right now. That'll be helpful next turn. So do I want to tap out in order to do that? I think I do. I'll tap all of these in order to play a Moldervine Reclamation. The idea being that next turn we can play her. And then use this to sacrifice the Pest, bring back Sedgemoor Witch, we'll draw a card, we'll gain a life, we'll gain another life from this. I think that's how we'll do it. And it'll get a +1/+1 counter on her. It's just a matter of if I want to play her or Dina, I suppose. I wish we drew another land, honestly. How do I want to order this? Because this is 1 green black. So 1 green black, and then we'll only have 2 mana left. So we can't do that in the same turn. So I think I want to do 1 green black to play Dina. Because it's a +1/+1 counter versus a draw, which I think is better for us. And then I guess I'll have to... I don't want to pass there. Do I want to make another Pest? I suppose I could. I'll discard her to make another Pest. So now we have 2. Let's add a counter. And then there's 2 Pests. And then I guess we'll pass. It's when a creature dies, right? Yeah. And then we can kind of pop off right now, I guess, in a sense. So I want to... 1 green black. Tap the Pestilent Cauldron. Sacrifice the Pest. Bring back... Let's go with her, because we're not doing instants or sorceries this turn. And then I think I can... I apologize if this is the wrong triggers, but I think I gain 1 life, and then I put a +1/+1 counter on her. Right? Yeah. And then I gain 1 life from the Moldervine Reclamation, and I put a +1/+1 counter on her. Draw a card from the Moldervine, draw a card for the Dina. And then we'll put down another Forest, and we have 3 mana now. And I think I want to use it on black. So let's go with that. Let's play a black. And then we should be good. Like, that's pretty decent. Let's go with this. Now, here's the thing with this deck. It doesn't look that strong, like our board's that strong right now. But we do have a little engine going. Like, we can Pestilent Cauldron, discard one of these creatures, then revive the thing we discard with Cauldron of Essence while making a Pest token. And then sacrifice the Pest token with one of our Aristocrat things, probably this. Then we'll gain life, we'll draw cards. Like, right now, it's as this enters, right? Yeah. So we do this, we can discard the Troll, we can make a Pest token. Or whatever. I think this one's the death one. It doesn't really matter because you guys know what it is. And then we can pay 1 green black, or 1 green black, and do this, sacrifice the token in order to bring back this. We gain a life, so we do this. We draw a card because of Dina. Moldervine makes us gain another life, so that goes up again. Then we draw another card because of Moldervine Reclamation. And then as this enters, if we had enough things... we're not going to devour anything right now. We also gain life, so all of our pests get a token. It's like pests, bats, snakes, insects. Yeah, that's all we have. See, we have a nice little synergy thing going, where we have like a big 6/6. And if we want to, we can go like 1, 2... With Dina, we can sacrifice Blood Researcher. We don't get the draw, but we do gain 6 life. And then put 6 +1/+1 counters on this, and then we can pass. Oops, didn't mean to do that. We'll put that back. This is turn 9, and we have to remember that. And then at the beginning of our upkeep, we make Pest tokens equal to the number of +1/+1 counters on this. There's 5 on it. No, there's 6 on it. So we make 6 Pest tokens right now, or whatever. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is a lot of pests and a lot of stuff we can work with, or whatever. We also gain another. I forgot we gain another life and draw another card because of Moldervine. Like, I think this is a pretty good resource engine. We do have 1 more turn though, so I guess I'll play a Study Hall, I suppose. No, I'll play this one because it makes colored mana easier. And then we can do 1 in a black, and we can do this guy, or we can pay a little more or whatever and get out her and just sacrifice our pests to various things. We're going to get 6 pest tokens every single turn and have a 9/9. And Dina isn't even as a sorcery, right? So we can, if this guy's about to die, if the troll Rib Trust Roaster, which is still a great name, is about to die. We can Dina sacrifice it, put 9 +1/+1 counters on something, and gain 9 life before it dies. And then we can make something else huge. And every time we gain life, black gets bigger and bigger and bigger until it's like a massive guy. It's just a lot of resource stuff. We have a lot of access to nice resources and a nice resource engine that I think is very good. It's not going to be like, it doesn't look as flashy as some of the other decks we've covered, right? Like when we did the Ancient, when we had a big thing out, like this isn't like that. It's more so a resource engine, I feel, that's going to get big guys out as we go or whatever. They might have a slow start. There might be ways to make it have a faster start. And you could argue that we opened like kind of crazy because we got these 3 cards early on. But I think these 3 cards in general, getting them out makes a nice resource engine that lasts multiple turns and gets you stuff over multiple turns. And one of the cool things is I feel like a lot of the time to a lot of players, you wouldn't look like the threat. You just have a little resource engine going. It's not like you're spamming out a bunch of dragons or have 80,000 life or whatever, or a super threatening guy on board or anything. It's just you have a resource engine every turn. And I think that's really good, and I like it about this deck. All in all, I think this is a really good deck, and I think this is really fun. I'm glad I made it feel different from Baitor. I feel like they have a similar theme of Graveyard and some Aristocrats with Lifegain, but I feel like Baitor has much more of a Graveyard Recursion thing and much more of a self-mill thing than we have, and it feels very different as a deck, which I'm thankful for, because when I started playing Magic, one of my fears was I would have decks that feel the exact same even though they're not. I guess that's all I really have to say about the deck. I see you guys in the next video, I suppose. And that's it. Thanks you guys for watching this video. I'm sorry this kind of took ages to get out, I suppose. I wanted to get this out earlier, but a bunch of stuff came up in my life that made me have to delay this, and I was focusing on the Let's Play channel and all that stuff. I'll put up some kind of update video at some point in the near future explaining things better. Thank you guys for watching. I hope this deck list and discussion, I guess, really helped you. I like doing pre-con commanders because they're what people need help with the most usually, because they want to know how to upgrade the decks that they buy, and they give you a nice baseline to work with, and one of the easiest ways to get into Commander is buying a pre-con and upgrading it. So I feel like they're the funnest to talk about, and they're like the most helpful ones. So I'm probably gonna do it like, I don't know, I try not to do too many pre-con commanders because it's kind of easy. Like, it makes me feel lame because the videos are easier to make when they're pre-con commanders. Because you have something more to go off of and don't have to build it fully from scratch. Anyways, my usual stuff is in the description. I have a Let's Play channel down there you can click on. I have a Blue Sky where you can get more updates from me faster. I've also been streaming with my friend Autumn lately and doing some Yu-Gi-Oh stuff. I'm doing a progression series with them where we go through Yu-Gi-Oh Rush Duel sets, and I'm joining their streams to do Yu-Gi-Oh stuff every now and then. Speaking of, I'm probably joining a stream tonight where we're going to test one of her cubes. That might be yesterday by the time you're watching this, but whatever. I'll have a link to that playlist for those on my channel, or maybe in the description, I don't know yet. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.